Hi everyone, with the upcoming release of the AP Swatch collaboration where they've said it will be a completely new way to wear the time, I thought I'd go back to basics on how to actually tell the time, or at least basic is how it starts. Now I know what you're thinking, you've been able to tell the time since you were 5. But trust me, by the end of this video, you might start questioning if you ever knew how to read a watch in the first place. We're going to move from the absolute classics to watches that are so confusing they basically require a degree in engineering just to know if you're late for lunch. Let's get into it. We'll start with the easy stuff. This is the Casio F-91W. It's a legend. It's digital and it's very straightforward to read. You've got your hours, your minutes and your seconds blinking away. It's what you see is what you get horology. If you can read a microwave, you can read this. But even here, there's a bit of choice. Do you prefer a 12-hour AM/PM cycle, or are you a 24-hour military time person? It's the foundation of everything we're going to see today. It's reliable, it's unpretentious, it's frankly the easiest it's ever going to get in this video. Now let's step it up to an analog watch. For this, we're looking at the Oris Big Crown ProPilot. This is the gold standard in legibility. Most of us grew up with a layout like this on the classroom wall. You've got your short hand for the hours, the long hand for the minutes, and that sweeping hand for seconds. The beauty of the ProPilot is its clarity. Arabic numbers are bold, the subdivisions are crisp, and each number on the dial represents 5 minutes. It sounds simple, but what you're actually doing is geometry every time you look at your wrist. You're measuring the angle of the hands against the circular grid. It's classic, it's elegant, and it's the universal language of time. But what happens when you clear the dial? This is what we call a sterile dial. This is the Dennison ALD black marble. There are no numbers, no indices, just a beautiful piece of stone. This is where your brain has to work a little bit harder. You aren't reading numbers anymore. You're relying entirely on spatial awareness. You're looking into a void and knowing that roughly over there means it's 2:30. If you want to step that up a bit further, Dennison also makes a dual time version of these. Now you've got 2 different sterile dials to track at once. Without markers, you're basically juggling 2 different spatial puzzles on one wrist. It's a minimalist stream, but it's the first step into interpreting time rather than just being told what it is. If you're off by a few degrees in your head, you're suddenly 5 minutes late for your meeting. Now, before we get into the truly weird stuff, we have to talk about a GMT. Specifically, I'm going to look at the Tudor Black Bay GMT. To the uninitiated, that 4th red hand can be a nightmare. Why are there 2 hour hands? And why is one pointing at the bezel? Well, this is a true GMT. The standard snowflake hand tells you your local time where you're standing right now. But that red hand, that's pointing to a 24-hour scale on the Pepsi bezel. That's your home time or your reference time. It only goes around the dial once every 24 hours, which is why the bezel has numbers up to 24. It tells you if it's 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. back home. It's a tool for travelers, but if you're a beginner, the watch looks like it's having an argument with itself. Now, speaking of things that look a little bit different, let's talk about the watch from a brand that inspired this whole video, the AP Neo Frame. This is a masterclass in jumping hour complications. It strips away the traditional dial entirely. Instead of hands sweeping around a circle, you've got a large, prominent, wandering hour digit that jumps into place every 60 minutes. To read this, you aren't looking for a hand, you're looking at where that digit sits along with the semicircular minute scale at the bottom. It's a very architectural way of seeing the time. It's intuitive once you've got it, but if you're used to a standard analog face, your eyes will be searching for a minute hand that simply isn't there. It's a bridge between high concept art and functional horology. Right, now we're getting interesting. This is the Qlocktwo. There are no hands, no numbers, there's just a grid of letters. It doesn't tell you it's 10:15, it lights up with the words, it is 10:15. It's a beautiful piece of design, but it forces your brain to switch from maths mode to reading mode. It's a conversation starter that might actually make you slower at checking the time. Once you get used to it though, it is quite easy. Sorry to jump in, I just wanted to tell you about Watch Obsession. We've been a go-to store for watch enthusiasts since 2010, specialising in premium watch straps with over 1,000 styles to choose from. You'll also find tools, accessories and a collection of pre-loved watches to help you fuel your obsession. Okay, let's get back to the video. as we move towards watches that are literal pieces of art, we have to talk about a watch that is literally staring at you. This is the Konstantin Joker. Instead of hands, you have two googly eyes. The left hand tells the hour, the right hand tells the minutes. The pupils move around the eyes to indicate the time. It gives the watch an incredible amount of personality. It's constantly making different faces. Because the pupils are always pointing in different directions, it takes a second for your brain to process the time. Oh, and that mouth is actually a moon phase indicator, with the tongue showing you exactly where we are in the lunar cycle. It's mechanical genius, but it's definitely a watch that values character over quick legibility. We're now entering the world of Mr. Jones watches. These guys are incredible because they treat the watch face like a canvas. If you look at their perfectly useless afternoon, you've got a person lounging in a pool on a floaty. The person's leg points towards the hour, and that tiny rubber duck floating around, that tells you the minutes. It's whimsical and lovely. But if you are in a rush, you're basically looking for a rubber duck to tell you if you've missed your train. We're basically getting into the impossible to read watches now. These are watches that made it into the video because they're essentially mechanical puzzles. First, the FP Journe FFC. This is a literal mechanical hand in a glove. It uses dactylonomy, the ancient art of finger counting. There are no hands in the traditional sense. The fingers move instantly on the hour to show a gesture. To read the minutes, you have to look at a rotating disc at the very edge of the dial that moves past the stationary pointer at the top. It's high frequency, mechanical beauty that looks like a magic trick. Okay, let's see if I can do this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think I got that right. Then there's the Ulysse Nardin Freak. This watch has no dial and no hands. Instead, the entire movement, the actual gears and bridges, rotates. The minute hand is actually the movement's bridge, carrying the balance wheel with it as it spins once an hour. The hour hand is a small triangular pointer on a rotating disc underneath the movement. There's no crown either. You wind it up by turning the case back and set the time by turning the front bezel. It's a freak by name and by nature. And we can't forget the Urwerk UR120 or the Spock. This uses rotating satellites. Each arm has a block that shows an hour digit. That arm travels along a minute scale on the right hand side of the watch. When it reaches the end of the hour, the block literally splits in two, forming a Vulcan V salute, hence the nickname. Rotates to the next number and then snaps back together. It's sci-fi engineering that requires you to read from top to bottom rather than in a circle. So there we have it, from the humble Casio to a mechanical hand that costs more than a house. It turns out telling the time can be as simple or as wildly complex as you want it to be. If you've managed to keep track of all that, you're doing better than me. It'll be fascinating to see where that AP Swatch collab lands on this scale, if it really is a new way to wear the time. I just hope it's a little easier to read than a pool floating duck. We'll just have to wait and see whether it's a future classic or a mechanical puzzle in its own right. Don't forget to click that subscribe button to stay updated with everything we do. Or if you want to see something a bit more practical, check out our watch workshop for tutorials and how-to guides. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.